Welcome to Talks with Teads. I'm Dani Cushion, the Chief Marketing Officer at Teads, and we're here at the Georgia Aquarium today with Laura Neely Lanio, the Cluster Director of Marketing for Atlanta and New Orleans at Hilton. Laura, welcome.
Thank you very much.
It's great to have you here.
Nice to be here in this beautiful background.
It's amazing with our curious friends. Let's kick it off just by hearing about your background. Tell us about your role now at Hilton.
Sure. Yes, thank you very much for complimenting my background. I went to the University of Georgia, and that's how I got to Atlanta. I always loved sports marketing, very interested in it, and that's how I ended up in Atlanta at a sports agency. Fan affinity is one of the most important parts of so many people's lives. Whatever it is, whether it's a musician, whether it's an athlete, whatever it is, people spend a lot of money to get closer and closer to the things that they love. So I went to go get my MBA. I went back to the University of Georgia after I'd been at an agency for 8 or 9 years. And there just happened to be a job available at Starwood Hotels and Resorts. So that's where I started, and it's a very similar affinity when you think about people having amazing memories with their friends, with their family, with just the surroundings, and that's what travel really taps into. So it was a pretty easy transition, but I mean, the digital and e-commerce realm and growth and impact of just a basic stay and how that impacts our growth, our development, and our revenue is really what really kept me growing here. I love data. I love e-commerce. I love finding out how people choose one brand or another. And so I just became super passionate about it. Been at several companies, and I've now landed at Hilton, and I've been there for 2.5 years in this role.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
In the travel and hospitality space, demand is shaped so much by timing, location, intent. How do you think about your role in marketing at reaching people in the right moment?
Reaching people in the right moment is really about a lot of the local idiosyncrasies of travel. You talk about intent, and we're finding now we're all here at a business conference. That's our intent, right? So it may just be the closest hotel to this location. It may be that we're hearing a lot of people solo traveling. So where is their destination? Do they want art museums in Paris, or do they want to go to Costa Rica and not see anyone? So the intent is the biggest thing that's happening right now, but you're not wrong in that certainly timing and location is really more about business. And that's what we facilitate so much, just day in and day out, like you and I are sitting here on a Wednesday. But what we're really trying to dig into, I mean, this isn't, just Hilton. This is really everybody, is those experiences that differentiate each brand. I'm not telling anybody anything new here, but that's where our growth is making sure there's a Hilton to welcome you really in all of those destinations.
I love it. When you think about planning across campaigns or planning your campaigns across channels, how are you thinking about things like the right mix for media? The messaging that you're using? How are you thinking about the moments that you're capturing to try to drive bookings?
What's interesting about that when I read this question is that it's really all over the gamut, but it's so highly localized, right? I am a cluster director. I have 2 markets. And so what it comes down to is just that demand. Mardi Gras, right? Mardi Gras. Atlanta, right? We had the Super Bowl recently. We're going to have it again in a couple of years. FIFA World Cup coming up, those kinds of things that generate demand. And to me, it's really all about what people did 5 or 10 years ago. And they just talked about this in the last panel, and about how things that you did 10 years ago are completely different than what you're doing now. And a lot of that brings some AI into the forefront, which is really exciting for brands because we can communicate what we're about with a 0-click answer. So I hope my clicks don't go down to my websites, but that everybody can get exactly what we're about by learning the content and the stories that we're telling on our websites, rather than just using, a general database that is unbiased. We're able to tell a story a little bit more authentically in the digital space for that reason. But it's all hyper-local. It's upper funnel to lower funnel. It's transactional, but it's inspirational. I mean, it is all over the place. We are constantly ebbing and flowing.
It's really meaningful. I'm a frequent business traveler and family traveler. I have 3 kids. We like to go a lot of places, and it does make a big difference when Hilton is actually recognizing what matters to me. And it definitely helps build my affinity for the brand.
Yeah, I like that you can be, very little touch to very high touch. You stay at one of our brands that's very, very luxury and it's a very high touch and you've got that bespoke service. Or you can just be at one of our brands. It's like you just want to go in and out. You want to grab your coffee. You want to run to your meeting and then you just want to have a really comfortable night's sleep. It's really, it spans everything.
It's lovely because it's very respectful of the consumer,
right,
and where they are. The next question I have is, you're a regional leader.
Mm-hmm.
So how are you approaching building a strong connection with the local communities as well? It's very important. Obviously, it's all about locality.
So within Hilton, we have over 500,000 employees. We have locations in over 140 countries. And again, my answer is localization.
Mm-hmm.
It matters what's happening at that time. So while we are doing Meals on Wheels all the time or putting together kits for seniors, creating Thanksgiving meal plans for some of the folks who might have elderly people back home and they're trying to make it easier. But one of the things that I'm most proud of, I think, is when we all come together for things like the California wildfires or in Maui when they had that awful, awful disaster a few years ago. And so those are the type of things where we're able to put heads in beds, but in a philanthropic, meaningful way.
Yeah.
And we're saying, hey, we're open to all of you who are displaced from your homes. We have the space for you. We have the availability for you. And it's when you see team members on site really transform in their love of what it is that they do. We love welcoming people for all reasons, but it really means a lot more when they're in a place where they're depending on us.
So Laura, as a regional leader, how do you think about building community, building engagement with the community while still delivering on business goals?
That's really a core competency of what hospitality is about. So it's not just hotels, it's restaurants, it's a lot of services. But it also goes very locally. So here in Atlanta, we do things with Meals on Wheels all the time. We're always around Thanksgiving time, we want to make sure that the elders in our communities are fed and we have kitchens, right? We have massive kitchens. We have generators. We can make these things for them. So it's highly localized in terms of serving the direct community with those kinds of needs. And then it also comes and eventually can be highly localized, but because of maybe a tragedy in the area, but we're there to serve. And, even when you talk about in 2020, we had a lot of first responders in our hotels. We had a lot of crew that was going around and frankly deploying really, really crucial needs for medical and everything like that. And they were able to stay in our hotels and we welcomed them. And that's, I think, the core competency, like I said, of hospitality and what brings our team members at our hotels the most joy.
That's lovely. It's a lovely viewpoint into what you do, and it definitely makes me a fan of Hilton. And it's a fun way to think about what you're doing from a hospitality standpoint to actually really connect with people. So thank you for joining us at Talks with Teads. We're very happy to have you here, and I hope you have a great rest of conference.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Laura.